We all like to win fantasy football leagues, and that's why you are tuning in right now. Talking about 5 league winning players for 2024 fantasy football. First guy is going to be Ja'Marr Chase. And you're saying to me, Caleb, well, Ja'Marr Chase, you have to draft him in the first round. If we're looking at his multi-site ADP, Caleb, he's going off as player number 5. And the reason that I think Ja'Marr Chase is a league winner because of the overall upside that Ja'Marr Chase does possess. Yes. Is he going one spot ahead of Justin Jefferson right now? Yeah, I probably lean Justin Jefferson just because of the overall talent. But we have seen ultimate level upside from Ja'Marr Chase when he is paired with Joe Burrow. If we're looking at his rookie season, wide receiver 5 on a points per game basis, wide receiver 4 on a points per game basis in 2022. And the thing that makes me super excited about Ja'Marr Chase is we've never seen him be an ultimate level target hog. Last year, he had 145 targets, which was the most targets that he's had over his whole career, but he had the lowest points per game totals because of the injury to Joe Burrow. Last year, like I said, was wide receiver 11 on targets and wide receiver 14 on target share with the 26% target share. If he can improve that target share to 27 to 28%, I think we're talking about Ja'Marr Chase getting up into that ultimate level ceiling. And last year, he even dealt with some injuries, which furthermore hurt his overall value. And I just think, like I said, I know I might be a little bit biased because I grew up in Ohio. I grew up a Bengals fan. I just absolutely love some Ja'Marr Chase and that overall ceiling that he does possess. Yes, are the guys being drafted around him in the same range, like a CeeDee Lamb, a Tyreek Hill? They've already both proven it last year that they have the ultimate level ceiling, but that's why they're going ahead of Ja'Marr Chase. And I think when you really have to check Ja'Marr Chase, who maybe is a little less talented than Justin Jefferson, but has a huge quarterback advantage over Justin Jefferson. And I know we've seen Justin Jefferson perform before, so I absolutely love Justin Jefferson too this year. But Ja'Marr Chase right now is an ultimate league winner, and I'm drafting him everywhere that I can because besides Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins, those are going to be what the Cincinnati Bengals run their offense through. Absolutely love Ja'Marr Chase in 2024. My second league winning player that you're going to have to draft is going to be Garrett Wilson. And Garrett Wilson, and I have the jersey right here behind me. I absolutely love Garrett Wilson. And right now, I know a lot of people are kind of disgruntled with where he's going ADP wise because there's been no discount even after last year kind of flopping on his face, having wide receiver 3 type numbers. But Garrett Wilson's going off the board as wide receiver 8, overall player 13 in the average composite ADP. And the thing that we have to understand about Garrett Wilson is it's been his quarterback play. And this year, we're assuming that Aaron Rodgers is going to play more than 2 snaps for the New York Jets. And we've looked at Garrett Wilson over the last 2 years, compares very closely on targets to a guy like Justin Jefferson. Now, I do say targets are earned, not given, and Justin Jefferson in his first 2 years in the NFL definitely commanded and demanded targets, but then was able to actually produce with them on a fantasy football level, while Garrett Wilson last year had 168 targets. The thing that I do want to highlight with Garrett Wilson is that he had Zach Wilson, who was honestly maybe one of the worst quarterbacks starting in the NFL last year. And we look at this in and out of game split over the last 2 years. When he has been playing with Zach Wilson, he averages 11.43 fantasy points per game. But when he's out of that split, when he's playing with a quarterback that's not Zach Wilson, which to be honest has been a second or third stringer for the New York Jets, he actually has performed better, almost 3 points per game better without Zach Wilson, which is absolutely crazy to me because of the fact that he's getting about 2 more targets a game. He was getting more receptions per game. He had a higher percentage of getting receiving touchdowns. Just imagine what these numbers are going to look like with a boost from Aaron Rodgers. Now, that might be me just living on a Pixie Island land saying, hey, I think Garrett Wilson's going to be this guy. But when we start to look at his overall advanced metrics, whether it's his target rate, his target share, his snap share, look at his air yards share, his deep targets, like everything screams that he plays the wide receiver position in such a way that if he were to be able to command targets and have an accurate passing attack, Garrett Wilson could absolutely demolish. And I think right now when you're looking at the composite ADP, I mean, you could talk to me into Garrett Wilson over Puka Nacua, even getting up into an AJ Brown range. I understand taking like the Amon-Ra St. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Ja'Marr Chase, but if you're in the back end of the first and you need that league winning upside shot to just get you in that same type of level of conversation, Garrett Wilson's going to be that dude. Yes, maybe it's make or break, but that is what you have to do at the end of the first round to try to get an advantage and catch up to those guys that got the ultimate level studs at the top. My third player that is going to be a league winning player in 2024 fantasy football is going to be Kyle Pitts. And you're going to be saying to me, man, Caleb, you say Ja'Marr Chase, and he's going a little bit early. You talk Garrett Wilson, which you love, but we haven't seen it on fantasy football production. And then you talk about Kyle Pitts. Woof, I'm out. And I hear you. The last 2 years I've been in on Kyle Pitts, and I've got burned. And this year, it's almost like you're trying to dip your toe in the water, and it's just scorching hot. But you know that if you don't do it, you're gonna regret it. And so that's kind of how I'm looking at with Kyle Pitts, because honestly, when he came in as a rookie, he had 1,000 yards receiving back in 2021. Now the last 2 years, not only in 2022 did he have an absolutely abysmal season where he did tear that ACL. But then last year, coming off of that ACL tear with Desmond Ridder, averaged tight end 16 points per game numbers in 17 games played with 89 total targets, which I agree is not great for a tight end that came into the league as maybe the best tight end prospect of all time and then actually proved that in year one. Major thing to me is Arthur Smith is gone. With no more Arthur Smith in this offense, plus the major quarterback upgrade over Desmond Ridder to a guy like Kirk Cousins, and then even as the backup having Michael Penix Jr. makes me feel so good about all the options in this Atlanta Falcons offense, whether it's Drake London, whether it's Bijan Robinson, whether it's Kyle Pitts, but especially in this tight end landscape where we're talking about the top heavy guys of Sam Laporta, Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, Dalton Kincaid, Trey McBride. If you miss out on one of those guys before we get to like the Evan Ingram, Jake Ferguson tier, I think Kyle Pitts deserves to be firmly planted where he's currently going off in the overall composite ADP as overall player 59, tight end 7. I mean, he's going behind George Kittle. Listen, I love George Kittle, but give me some Kyle Pitts, who is an athletic tight end freak that we've seen a guy like Kirk Cousins absolutely love to target his tight ends. We saw TJ Hawkinson go from the Lions offense and absolutely emerge himself in that Vikings offense and become a top 3 tight end on a points per game basis. I think Kyle Pitts can do the exact same thing, and I'm super excited for Kyle Pitts. I'm back in on him in 2024 fantasy football. Let me know where you at with Kyle Pitts. Are you striking out? Are you leaving him to somebody else to hopefully miss out on? For me, I think he's a league winner, and I'm going to be drafting him, especially if I don't get one of those earlier and tight end guys. My 4th league winning player that you're going to need in 2024 fantasy football is going to be Mr. Joe Mixon, who lands himself in almost a better situation than he had with the Cincinnati Bengals. He lands himself on the Houston Texans. In the last 3 years, people have been wanting to write off Joe Mixon as dead. RB5 back in 2021 on a points per game basis. In 2022 was RB7 on a points per game basis, and then RB11 on a points per game basis in 2023. And let's be clear, I think last year he would have maybe had a chance to be a little bit higher, but with Joe Burrow getting hurt, everyone was just keening on the run with Jake Browning as the starting quarterback in the Cincinnati Bengals offense. So when we're looking at him, last year, of course, had 257 rushing attempts, 1,000 yards, 4 yards per carry, 52 total receptions for 376 yards, 12 total touchdowns. I mean, that feels like kind of the meteor range of where Joe Mixon tends to land, where he has been highs of like 16 touchdowns. He's had lows of like, 4 total touchdowns as a rookie. So there's definitely a wide range for Joe Mixon, but I think landing on a Houston Texans team where, yes, there are a lot of pass catchers that are going to need to get the ball between Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, and Tank Dell, even Dalton Schultz. They are going to be in the red zone a lot, and having those high and green light type touches in the 0 to 5 yard line is what's going to make me really excited about Joe Mixon's overall value, because a lot of people just aren't ranking him super high still. If we're looking over on the composite ADP, I mean, he's going off the board as the 46th overall player, RB15. And last year, even though it felt like a down year, was RB11. Now, the big concern with Joe Mixon is the fact that he is getting up there in age. He's 28. When we're looking at his overall class that came into the NFL, there was an elite level running back class. Guys like Leonard Fournette, CMC, Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook. We've already seen a bunch of those guys get flushed out of the NFL. They've already lost their explosion. They lost everything that made them special. So that's kind of the biggest worry with Joe Mixon, and especially with the Bengals kind of cutting ship a little bit early, about what that's going to look like here in 2024. I think even though those are some concerns for a guy like Joe Mixon, he is definitely cheaper, and you have that kind of worry age discount applied to him in this new offense, in the Houston Texans offense. So I absolutely love some Joe Mixon. I think he definitely, at his current cost, is a league winning player if he's going to play all his game. I know health is kind of a big concern with all these guys, but I truly believe that the league winning upside that Joe Mixon does possess is absolutely incredible next to CJ Stroud. And of course, I got the CJ Stroud jersey behind me, so I'm excited to see what Joe Mixon can do in that same backfield. And my 5th and final player, it's going to be a league winner that you need in 2024 fantasy football, is going to be the rookie quarterback, Jayden Daniels. Now, this year for quarterback, it feels super deep when we're looking at the overall composite rankings, where, I mean, you got Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud, Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray, Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, and then Jayden Daniels slides in as overall player 97, overall QB 12, actually ahead of his counterpart, Caleb Williams, who went at the first overall pick. Now, Caleb Williams, we absolutely love the fact that he's throwing to 3 elite level wide receivers, has DeAndre Swift in the backfield, but Jayden Daniels, the thing that is going to separate him and really help him in year one is going to be his Konami code quarterback rushing upside. Jayden Daniels, 6'4", he was the 2nd overall pick. He is 23 years old, if we look at his college stats, the thing that we are going to notice that is in 2023, he had almost 1,000 rushing yards on top of his 3,800 passing yards, which is absolutely incredible for a quarterback. But I think more importantly, especially in an offense that isn't like desolate of talent here with Washington, you still have Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, you got Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler in the backfield. You have an okay offensive line. It's not great. For Jayden Daniels, who's able to maneuver in and out of the pocket, who's able to scramble, I think this is going to be an interesting offensive scheme with Cliff Kingsbury at the helm. And especially if you miss out on some of these more elite level quarterbacks, and let's say you end up having to draft Jayden Daniels, you're able to get a guy like a Jayden Daniels, Trevor Lawrence kind of QB parent, a Jayden Daniels, Justin Herbert QB parent, which is even possible. I think that's even has as much upside as if you get like a guy like Kyler and Tua. So for me, I think waiting on a guy like Jayden Daniels this year, who has that ultimate boomer bust upside, and you could say that with a lot of these guys that I just talked about. I mean, Garrett Wilson's kind of in the same conversation. Kyle Pitts is kind of in the same conversation, but that's fantasy football. For me, you're either first or you're last. There's really no in between. Of course, we want to get you and sneak you into the playoffs. Of course, we want you to have consistent, solid numbers that you can rely on week over week, but we do really want those high boom weeks, and that's what I'm shooting for here with these league winning upside players, because if you're able to get these high shooting weeks from these players and you're able to maybe add a little bit more reliability around them, all of a sudden you're going to have the perfect blend on a fantasy football roster. So if you want to win your fantasy football league in 2024, that is my entire goal here on the channel. So hit that like and subscribe button. On the way to 3,000 subscribers. Can only do it with your help. A lot more live stream drafts in the future, a lot more underdog drafts, as well as videos each and every day to help you guys achieve and draft the best fantasy football teams possible. Like I said, appreciate you guys for tuning in. Check out these two videos if you haven't, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.